Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News.
Good afternoon. The news continues as we approach 12:30, and we continue to track a breaking news alert in Lexington. Police are right now investigating a shooting.
This happened just before 11 o'clock this morning in a parking lot on East 6th near Pemberton Lane. We're told the victim has life-threatening injuries. WKYT's Sam Smith is live at the scene for us, tracking down all the breaking details.
The scene here is cleared and this business is now back open. Police were called out here around 11 o'clock this morning to the parking lot of the shop here on East 6th for a shooting. Multiple shots were fired. After the shooting, two men drove away in a white car. A victim has life-threatening injuries. The victim was found at the apartments nearby. And I spoke with a woman that lives around here. She says she heard 4 or 5 distinct gunshots and then several shots fired in a row. And now this investigation is still ongoing. We'll bring you the latest information as it becomes available. Live in Lexington, Sam Smith, WKYT.
All right, thanks so much, Sam. A man who pleaded guilty in a brutal beating is going to prison.
Jason Gambrill learned his sentence today in the attack on Derek Cassie over the summer. Cassie was found badly beaten and buried under rocks in an old Rockcastle County quarry. WKYT's Phil Pendleton was there for the sentencing, and that is our top story here at 12:30. Phil?
Jason Gambrill was charged with attempted murder, and relatives tell us that it's actually a miracle, they think, that Derek Cassie survived the beating that happened last July. But today, Gambrill was sentenced to prison after last month he admitted to a charge of first-degree assault. Now, Gambrill told the judge last month that the attack on Cassie was over money and drugs. Cassie told us that he worked with Gambrill at a Somerset business, and he thought that he was meeting someone to buy a car the day that he was beaten. Police say some people looking for bullet casings found Cassie buried under some rocks and that he had severe head injuries. He was also missing $700. Today in court, the prosecutor said despite the plea to the lesser charge, the 14-year punishment is essentially the same.
I just want to point out to the court that as the court's aware, this carries the same punishment as attempted murder. It just requires the Commonwealth to prove one less element, that being an intent. So I didn't want that in any way to reflect that we think that this conduct is in any way less heinous or serious than it is.
The judge said that he could not give Gambrill any kind of probation because of the previous violations on his criminal record. In Rockcastle County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Phil, thank you very much. The prosecutor says Gambrill must complete 85% of his sentence before he is eligible for parole. And we're tracking the investigation into a deadly home invasion. In this case, the person killed is the suspect. Bill Jolly says 2 men kicked in the front door of his Harrison County home last night. Jolly tells us the men attacked him and he did what he had to do to defend himself.
Came in and tackled me, and just a fight ensued, and made it to the bedroom where we went through a drywall wall and got my gun off the nightstand and was able to fire at one of them, and they took off.
Police say one of the suspects showed up at Harrison Memorial Hospital with a gunshot wound and later died. The second suspect is still on the run.
A man is dead after an overnight crash in Lexington. Police say 22-year-old Dustin Smith crossed into oncoming traffic on Georgetown Road before crashing into 2 fences and a line of trees. He was thrown from his car and died at the scene. He leaves behind a son. A woman who works near the scene wants to make sure the child has a Merry Christmas despite the tragedy.
I have already planned to go get Christmas for the little boy because I know it means very much to the children. And without the extra support and everything that the mother's going to be going through right now, Christmas is going to be the last thing on her mind.
Police say they do not know what caused Smith to run off the road, but they are investigating.
The number of flu cases in Lexington continues to grow. The health department says there are now 18 confirmed cases and many more suspected. Because the number is continuing to grow, UK Hospital is putting restrictions in place for visitors. The new rules include no visitors younger than 12, no visitors with any flu symptoms, and only 2 visitors in a room at a time.
Influenza season has started earlier than it has in other years. However, these measures do tend to keep our patients safe.
UK hospital says they are currently treating 3 patients for flu. 58 with flu symptoms have visited the hospital in just the last 24 hours. It's going to be a mostly dry day across the area and a little warmer.
Yeah, take it while it lasts, right? There are some changes ahead as we get closer to Christmas. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is here with more.
Yeah, on First Alert Defender Live Radar, we're not seeing anything outside right now. Clouds are starting to fill on in for one reason. We're kind of sandwiched in between a lot of rain. The rain's to the west, to the east, to the south, and if I span out here, you can actually see it coming out of northern Alabama, eventually sliding off into Tennessee, and I would say this would reach our region probably just after sunset. So the daylight hours look pretty dry, and I say pretty dry because still looking at that 20–30% chance of rain the rest of the afternoon. It's not a good chance, most stay dry. It's about the temperatures. Look at that, 50 degrees in Lexington. That's a really good feel this time of year, 52 in Richmond, when typically we're sitting there in the lower 40s, right around 40 degrees for an average high. So we'll call that upper 40s, lower 50s, small chance of rain. We'll go through your latest forecasts off into your holidays. That's what everybody wants to know about. Coming up in a few minutes.
We have a scam alert today out of Franklin County. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office says someone is calling people claiming to be a deputy and threatening to arrest them for missing jury duty if they don't pay a fine. The Sheriff's Office says they don't call and tell you they have a warrant, and the clerk's office doesn't ask you to pay fines over the phone. Well, the number of people dying from a heroin overdose in Lexington continues to rise. There were 49 heroin deaths in 2014 in Fayette County. That's up from 44 last year. Fayette County Coroner Gary Ginn says trends have not changed from last year, with ages of those overdosing ranging from teens to 60-year-olds.
Eventually, the statistics show that if you are on heroin and you become addicted, that you will die of a heroin overdose, and we're seeing that.
Well, tonight at 6, Ginn talks about why he thinks the numbers keep on going up. Obviously, a continuing problem we're having to grapple with.
Well, a very disturbing trend. Some legislation apparently proposed in Frankfurt. We'll see what happens in January.
Well, Americans are doing a little bit better staying out of the bakery aisle.
And a new study examines the effects of maternal depression on teenagers. Ebony Williams has the details in this Better Living report.
A new study in the journal Pediatrics finds depression in a mother could affect her child's behavior as a teenager. The study looked at about 2,900 moms and children in Canada. The author found that a mother's depression when her child is 6 to 10 years old increases that kid's risk of smoking, drug, and alcohol use as an adolescent. Researchers are recommending nationwide standards in sports exams for young athletes. A study in pediatrics finds that sudden cardiac death is the leading cause of death in young people playing sports. The author says all young athletes should undergo a comprehensive pre-participation physical for heart conditions and other health risks. And consumers may be getting more health savvy about their food choices. A study in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that purchases of prepackaged baked goods dropped by 24% in recent years. But researchers say consumers can still make better choices to steer clear of empty calories, sugar, and saturated fats. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Ebony Williams, CBS News, New York.